The security footage confirmed what I already knew. 3 familiar cars edged up my snow-covered driveway, headlights dim behind the blizzard's thick curtain. From the comfort of my study, I cradled a mug of hot chocolate, watching them inch closer to my secluded refuge, Evergreen Manor. 5 years ago they made it clear I no longer mattered. My offense: refusing to sell my late grandmother's antique locket to fund my sister Emma's destination wedding. That locket was the last piece of the only person who ever truly loved me. But they didn't see sentiment, just dollars. "You're always so difficult, Sarah," my mother had snapped. The final betrayal came that Christmas. I arrived at their home, arms full of gifts, only to find the gathering had already happened. No one told me they'd moved the time. From the window I saw them laughing, eating, exchanging presents. That night, standing alone in the snow, I made a vow: never again. What they didn't know was that Grandma had left me more than the locket. She left me a hidden inheritance, enough to purchase and restore the very manor where she spent her childhood. While they assumed I was scraping by in a shabby apartment, I was quietly building a new life, transforming this 19th century estate into a luxury bed and breakfast under a name they'd never recognize. Now, as their silhouettes neared, I smoothed my emerald sweater and glanced at my reflection. At 32, I was no longer the timid girl they had cast out. Success had sharpened me. Peace had softened me. I was strong. The doorbell echoed through the halls. I let them wait a moment before walking to the entrance, heels clicking across the marble. Through the frosted glass I saw them: Mom, Dad, Emma, her husband Tom, and their 2 kids, huddled together, wind-bitten and weary. When I opened the door, their faces shifted from hope to shock. "Sarah," my mother breathed, her makeup paling. "Welcome to Evergreen Manor," I said calmly, stepping aside. "Please come in before you freeze." They shuffled into the grand foyer, dripping snow onto the imported rugs. Emma's twins gawked at the chandelier and the towering Christmas tree. My father stared at the sweeping staircase. You work here?" Emma asked hesitantly. Smiled. "Actually, I own it. All 15 acres, including the frozen lake you passed." I gestured toward the sitting room. "Make yourselves comfortable. I'll have hot chocolate brought in." My mother followed, stunned. "How could you afford this?" "Grandmother believed in me," I replied softly. "She left me more than just the locket you wanted me to sell." The sitting room radiated warmth: velvet furniture, a crackling fire, windows framing the snowfall outside. My mother sank into an armchair, eyes distant. Dad hovered by the fireplace. Tom muttered about blocked roads and a stalled storm. "How fortunate you found shelter," I said, pressing a button. "Maria, my housekeeper, would handle the rest." The twins discovered the toy train circling the tree, their laughter bubbling through the room. It made me smile. They were innocent in all this. "Your usual lodging fell through?" I asked, already knowing the truth. I'd purchased the Pine Lodge weeks ago, conveniently closing it for renovations over Christmas. My father confirmed it. "We were heading back to the highway when we saw your lights." Maria entered with a tray of hot chocolate and cookies. The twins lit up. Emma, watching them, smiled too, for once a real one. "Sarah," she said quietly, "this place is beautiful." For a moment, I saw my little sister, the one I once played with in Grandma's garden. "Thank you," I replied, voice steady. As the evening wore on and the shock faded, the questions came. How long had I owned this place? Why hadn't I told them? Was I running it alone? I answered only what I wanted. Let them wonder. Let them see what they gave up. "I'll have Maria prepare the guest rooms," I said, rising. "The east wing has the best view of the snow." My mother finally spoke. "Sarah, we should talk." Paused at the doorway. 5 years of ignored messages. Returned cards. Cold silence. "Yes," I said, resting a hand on the frame. "We should. But not tonight. Tonight you're my guests. And it's Christmas Eve. Let's start there." As I walked away, I heard the twins gasp with joy. More gifts beneath the tree. I'd wrapped them long ago, just in case this moment ever came. Sometimes revenge isn't cold. Sometimes it's warm, wrapped in velvet, topped with whipped cream, and served with a second chance. But the surprises weren't over. The grandfather clock struck 9 as I finished my rounds. Each guest room had been carefully chosen. The twins had a hidden playroom. Emma and Tom got the suite with the lake view. My parents were next to the library, the one lined with family photos they'd never seen. I stood there now, touching a frame of me and Grandma in this very manner. Buying it back had been my secret mission, restoring her legacy and mine. Soft knock. Emma entered in the robe I'd left for her. "Can't sleep?" I asked without turning. "How could I?" she murmured, her eyes scanning the photos. "Is this Grandma's house? The one from her stories?" I finally faced her. Yes, she left me the means to buy it back. Because I remembered every story. Emma's fingers trembled as she touched an old photo. The hidden room behind the bookcase. "Is it still there?" Without a word, I moved to the shelf, pressed the lever. The panel swung open, revealing the reading nook where we once hid. Emma's voice broke. "We used to pretend it was a secret fort." "It was," I said. "And now it's back in the family." She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. But I couldn't resist adding, "Although, according to all of you, I stopped being family a long time ago." Emma flinched. "Sarah, about that. These 5 years taught me a lot," I said, calm and steady. "And the real lesson. This was only the beginning. I had finally learned who I was, without bending under their expectations." The library door creaked open again. My mother entered, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her, wrapped in a borrowed nightgown. Her voice was quiet. I heard talking. Then she saw the photos. Her steps slowed as she approached the wall. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Your grandmother's house. But how? Why didn't you tell us? Would you have cared?" Asked evenly. "You were always too wrapped up in Emma's perfect life to notice mine." "That's not fair," my mother protested. But Emma's voice cut in, firm and low. "Yes, it is, Mom. We were horrible to her. Over a locket of all things." She turned to me. I was so focused on what I wanted for my wedding, I never even thought to ask why that locket mattered. I reached beneath my sweater and pulled out the familiar piece of gold. "Grandmother gave me this the last time we visited this house together. She told me stories about growing up here, about love and secrets held in these walls. She made me promise never to let anyone steal my dreams." I opened the locket. Inside was a tiny, time-worn key. "This opens her old jewelry box. I found it hidden during renovations." My mother sank slowly into a leather armchair. Her eyes glistened. "She always said you were the one most like her. Strong-willed. Independent. Difficult." I offered, raising an eyebrow. She gave a small, shaky laugh. "Special," she corrected. "I was jealous of how close you were with her. And when she died, and you wouldn't give up that locket, I let that jealousy turn into something ugly." The fire crackled beside us. Outside, snow continued to fall in silent sheets, covering the world in white. Emma's voice was softer now. "The twins found more presents under the tree. Have you been buying them gifts all these years?" He nodded. "I have a whole room filled with 5 years of presents. I kept hoping one day you'd find your way back." My mother's voice trembled. "That you'd want us to." I turned to them both. "Do you remember what Grandma used to say about this house at Christmas?" Together, as if pulled from the same memory, we whispered, "Magic lives in these walls." We laughed, surprised and a little emotional. I added, she also said, "True family finds its way home, no matter how lost they've been." My mother stood, smoothing her nightgown with trembling hands. "Are we too lost, Sarah?" I thought of the pain, the years of silence. But I also thought of the presents I'd wrapped, the rooms I'd prepared, the door I'd left unlocked just in case. "That depends," I said gently. "Are you ready to find your way back?" Emma reached for my hand. After a pause, I let her take it. My mother stepped closer too, her eyes resting on the locket. Maybe, I said. It's time I showed you what's in Grandma's jewelry box. She left something for each of us. I've been keeping them safe, waiting for the right moment. I led them to the hidden staircase that wound up to the attic. And as we climbed, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a space where healing can begin. Even if that space takes 5 years and a snowstorm to find. But the night wasn't over. The biggest surprise was still waiting. Dawn broke over Evergreen Manor, casting the snow-covered grounds in shades of soft pink and gold. I had been up for hours, making final preparations in the grand dining room. The table was perfectly set with grandmother's heirloom china, each plate arranged with precision, just the way she taught me. At the center sat the ornate jewelry box, its carved wooden lid catching the morning light. I had retrieved it late last night after Mom and Emma returned to their rooms. Some revelations deserved to be shared in the light of day, with everyone. The twins arrived first, still in pajamas, gasping at the breakfast spread. Emma and Tom followed close behind, then my parents, quiet and wide-eyed. They had no idea what they were about to learn. They hesitated at the doorway, uncertain if they were truly welcome. "Merry Christmas," I said, gesturing to the long, candlelit table. "Please have a seat." As they settled into their places, I stood at the head of the table and picked up the small wooden jewelry box. "Before we eat," I said, "I think it's time to honor grandmother's final wishes." My father spoke for the first time since arriving. "Sarah, we don't deserve." "This isn't about deserving," I interrupted gently. "It's about fulfilling her wishes." I inserted the tiny key from my locket. The box clicked open. Inside, nestled in aged velvet, were 5 sealed envelopes and several small boxes. I handed them out, keeping mine for last. The twins opened theirs first, matching silver bracelets with their birthstones, even though they'd been born years after grandmother's passing. "But how did she?" Emma asked, helping her daughters fasten the clasps. "She knew you'd have children one day," I said. "She bought those before she passed, trusting they'd find their way to the right hands at the right time." My mother's fingers trembled as she opened her envelope. A delicate sapphire ring slid into her palm, accompanied by a handwritten note. "This was her mother's ring," she whispered. "I always admired it." My father received her father's pocket watch. He read the letter in silence, then turned away, wiping his eyes. Emma gasped softly as she opened her box to find the pearl necklace she used to play with as a child. Her letter made her cry. Finally, I opened mine. Inside was the deed, to Evergreen Manor, and a letter I had read many times over the years. But this time I read it aloud. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this with our family around you, then you've done exactly what I always knew you would. You've brought them home, not just to this house but to each other. The deed enclosed is for Evergreen Manor. I couldn't bear to see it sold to strangers, so I bought it back quietly, waiting for the right person to restore it. That person is you, my darling girl. But a home is nothing without the people who fill it. Even when they hurt us, even when they lose their way, family is worth fighting for. Your strength isn't just in standing alone. It's in knowing when to open the door and let love back in. The manor is yours. My final wish is that you make it a home for all of you again. With all my love, Grandmother." Silence settled over the table. Only the quiet sound of the twins munching toast broke the stillness. My mother reached across the table and gently took my hand. "We were so wrong," she whispered. "All these years we thought you were being stubborn about that locket. But you were protecting something far more precious. You were protecting her legacy," my father added, "while we were too blind to see it." Emma stood, looking out the frost-lined window. "Remember the Christmases we used to spend here as kids?" she said softly. "The snowball fights, the sledding down the back hill, and the hot chocolate contests," I added with a small smile. "She always let us win." My mother squeezed my hand. "Sarah, could we make new memories here?" I looked around the table. At this family I had once lost, now reaching toward something whole again. That's why I bought all those presents, I admitted. Every year I kept thinking, maybe this Christmas. Can we open them now? One of the twins chirped, making everyone laugh. Soon, I promised. But first, I have one more surprise. From a drawer, I pulled out a stack of documents. I've been working to get Evergreen Manor listed as a historic landmark, but with a special clause. No matter what, it stays a family home. Open to all of us. My father stood and walked to me, pulling me into a hug that caught me off guard. You're remarkable, he whispered. Just like her. As we moved into the living room to unwrap 5 years' worth of carefully chosen gifts, soft snow began falling again. The twins ran to the window, faces pressed against the glass. Look! They shouted. Perfect sledding weather. Emma linked her arm through mine. Think you could show them the secret path down the hill? The one Grandma used to take us on. Only if their parents come too, I said, watching our mother already fussing in the kitchen, planning hot chocolate for our return. Standing there, surrounded by laughter and paper and second chances, I touched my locket. Thank you, Grandmother, I whispered. They had found their way back. And in the joyful chaos that followed, Evergreen Manor finally became what it was always meant to be. Home.